Okay, hello, greetings everyone. Get this camera set up. I hope the audio is okay. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so let's have a look at the foundation of what initiation to Hermetics is. When we look at step one, the first exercise is observing the rising falling wave thoughts. That's the foundation exercise, and there's a very good reason for it. When you observe your thoughts quietly and you don't touch them, there's a separation of consciousness that happens between the part of your mind that observes and the part of your mind that engages. The objects, mental landscape, and so forth. The observer separates itself. So this first layer of separation where one begins to realize, oh, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings, I'm not my body, I am consciousness. That recognition is the platform of all intuitive development skills, of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, being able to recognize past lives, and so forth. All the initiation process stems from that one exercise. So you need to do that one exercise really, really well. Now, I'll drive slowly so the audio doesn't get too blown out. All right, so hopefully you guys can still hear us. So as you're observing the rising falling wave of thoughts and the consciousness is getting separation, and you're recognizing I'm not the body, I'm not the feelings, I'm not the thought forms, that there's actual consciousness there, this consciousness develops a sense of, oh, I'm attaching to this thought, I'm generating a feeling, it's stimulating a action. I repeat the action, it forms a personality trait, and I'm identifying as that personality trait. Okay. Oops. So as you start to recognize how your personality is formed and how the attachment to one's sense of egotistical sense of self is formed, the initiation process is recognizing that and detaching from it. So all your abilities are recognizing the layers of stickiness between consciousness and your identity, demagnetizing that stickiness so the spirit senses can see beyond the physical senses. And the first half of the book is not only developing those mental skills that are needed for the consciousness to get insights, but developing the platform for equanimity and reducing static so that you can have an experience where you're using your spirit senses rather than having an experience where you're using your physical senses. Okay. Getting to understand this difference between identifying through the one sense of ego self and just recognizing there's consciousness and separating the layers and allowing your spirit senses to give you information. This is the platform. This is the initiation process. As soon as the person's gotten that recognition, some interesting things start to happen. One begins to experience a profound sense of stillness. Now, as soon as the observer separates from the observed, stillness begins to form. This happens for a whole range of reasons. The first reason is that I'll just straight and turning around. The first reason is that as soon as consciousness begins to separate from objects, the matrices thin out. And when the matrices start to thin out, and one recognizes one is consciousness, there's an immediate opening to less static, greater degrees of stillness, greater degrees of quietude, which further amplifies the spirit senses. So the thinning of the matrix is the stickiness between the three bodies. That opens up a reduced static state, which opens up one's awareness that there is stillness, there is akasha, there is this void, the universe is mind, and all these potential learning points begin to take place. Slow down, so hopefully the audio's not clipping because there seems to be a lot of wind today. Alright, so once you've got the separation between the mind and the objects and the stillness arises, we then begin to pay attention to the stillness. Now, as you move from simply observing to observing stillness, the separation between mind and objects increases substantially, because observing stillness amplifies the neutralization of the matrices. It amplifies the reduction of static. It amplifies the release of time and space. So we start simulating the first and second transformation, even though we're not consciously doing that. Even though we're not consciously trying to do that, it starts to happen. So when we begin to become aware of a method that releases time, a method that releases space, then when we actually begin practicing that consciously, it's very easy to do. Okay, and then the third exercise in step one mental training is being more mindful of what you're doing in day-to-day life. Create just a little bit more separation of your awareness from your daily activities while being conscious. I am consciousness undergoing an activity. When you're aware that you are consciousness undergoing an activity, then there's a sense of spirit having volition and will when the spirit sense to become more active. And this allows your not only your intuition to function, but your intellect to function. And this is a very interesting phenomenon, that when you occupy space and you stay in the moment, your intellect functions at a higher frequency. It's able to access more data, more information. It's able to access greater levels of intuition, and your intuitive intellect points at important things. So this balance between observing the rising, falling away, between having a more open mental space for higher intellectual function, and having your spirit senses more active to pull you towards that more important information, there's a natural intuitive intellect which arises in day-to-day life. There's a lot of effort which is needed in doing this to start with, and that effort is mostly remembering to do it and then holding that mindful state throughout the day. And so people who train systems like Vipassana, various mindfulness systems that observe the rising, falling wave thoughts, feelings, and actions, and the phenomena around them, those systems have a high potential for developing psychic ability if they understand what to pay attention to, how to release. So the spirit senses are very mechanistic. They're a mechanism. They're not accidental. They, for instance, if you want your your clairvoyance to activate, eye consciousness needs to separate into layers, and you need to identify those layers through a type of insight. This is mindfulness of the body, this is mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of consciousness, this is mindfulness of life force. And as you separate the layers out, the clairvoyance starts to see those layers through identification. If a person just simply separates the layers without identifying the layers, one's spiritual insight or clairvoyance becomes extremely random. You don't know. It's synchronistic with randomness. You synchronize to seeing this and that, and you don't know why or how. But if you identify, this is life force, and you release and pay attention to the sensation of life force through eye consciousness, and you see life force, now you've gone through the process of, I can tune into that frequency, I can separate the layer with eye consciousness, I can see it, now I can see the life force around people and plants, and it becomes a functional skill that you can utilize in a whole range of different ways for practical things, rather than a random event that happens, and sometimes you experience type of clairvoyance and you don't know how and why it happens. So the structuring of a vibrational scale allows you to automatically attune your mind to these different levels, separate the layers of consciousness attached to those levels, so the spirit senses can see through that level, and you can have a clairvoyant experience, a clairsentient experience, clairaudient experience, and so forth. Okay, so step one mental training, really the platform. If a person missed that, they're going to struggle with the rest. So I suggest you put an ample amount of time into mastering those exercises and really getting to break them down, understand why you're doing. When a person understands why they're doing something, they do it differently to just what your thoughts are asked fall away. If the mind has a goal in mind in relation to doing a particular practice, the practice begins to manifest the goal. So here we'll have goals which are short-term, micro goals, and then we'll have goals which are more long-term, macro goals. Your short-term goals are to master the exercise in context with awakening the spirit senses in that particular way. Long-term goals are more related to recognizing universal consciousness, recognizing the higher fabrics of mind substance, recognizing divinity, God, releasing to attain nirvana. These higher goals are your long-term plan, where the micro is to getting the insight mind active to be able to achieve the longer goal. If, let's say, you want to activate the insight mind to understand Buddhism, then the long-term goal is, what is the goal of Buddhism Nibbana? The short-term goal is to develop the spirit senses so the insight mind can begin to understand how Buddhism actually functions. Okay, I don't know how good the audio's been. I apologize if there's a lot of wind noise. Tomorrow I'll try to do a walking video. I think the audio will be better. And we'll keep these topics going around initiation. So any questions you have about initiation, let me know. I've got scheduled in the next few days of questions, and then I'll start answering more from what people have posted in the comments. If you are a past student and you've done the past workshops, and the question that a person asks is very obvious to you, create a video, post it on your YouTube channel, and post a link to that video in the comments to answer the question. So give me some help, because as we develop this in the coming months, there's going to be far more questions than what I can answer. So there are hundreds of you that have gone through the training that look at a question, go, yeah, I know the answer to that. Make a video, put it on YouTube or whatever your area is, and post it. I've been locked out of 2 Facebook accounts, so I won't be going there again. And I've been locked out of both my Instagram accounts, so I won't be going there again. So it's basically just here on YouTube for the moment. And when a better alternative to YouTube arises, then we'll embrace it. But if you know of any other platforms other than YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram that you think have value, let me know, and I'm very happy to post on those other platforms. Okay, thank you for your time, everyone, and see everybody on the next video.